Hi, everybody. Paul Fisher from Juried Art Services here. And today I'm here with Patty Narozny from HotWorks. Patty produces about 10 shows right now. She is one of the veterans of our game and really dominates the scene here in Florida. And we're just going to have a little bit of a rambling discussion about these shows, what it takes to make it into the show, how to have a better show, what's the history of these shows, and maybe where's it going. Hello, Patty.
Paul, thanks for having me, Juried Art Services.
So, Patty, you do shows that are juried fine art shows. You have 1 foot in the craft world, 1 foot in the fine art world, 1 fair in the art fair world, and 1 foot in the artist development world. So my bones really started in the art world working with a guy named Dale Chihuly back in the 80s. And Dale's my mentor and my friend. And when back in the 80s with Chihuly, as he was starting to get known, people would say, well, it's not art, it's craft. And he is using a traditional craft medium, so you cannot call a craft medium fine art. And the difference was Chihuly was using the material and the methods of craft to create unique original works of art. And when he was asked if it's art, if it's craft, he wouldn't even acknowledge the question, because really, who cares? Any craft at the highest level is art. And with what you do, where the audience gets to come in and to not only see the work, but to interact with the artists and get a feeling, really see that this is a unique, special work. It's made by this human being that you get to ask questions of. And now I think I was just at the local show here in Palm Beach, and the wearables just did so great. There's a lot of jewelry. Mm-hmm. And what do you see in the art fair world with wearable art, decorative fiber? What's changed in the last couple of years, and where do you think it's going?
Oh, first of all, I want to say I heard from Joe Michelin and Skip Ennis, one of the top handmade jewelers in the country, who did the Palm Beach show. And I talked to him on Friday, I believe, and he said all the top jewelers were at that Palm Beach show this past weekend. So I hope everyone did great. And yes, we're actually fine art and fine craft. And the reason we call it HotWorks Fine Art Shows is simply because we're all about the media and promotion and advertising and to get the word out. And a lot of our promotion is only 15 or 30 seconds. So we have so much information to slam in that we just skip out and craft, because believe it or not, those 2 seconds are a lot when you have a 15 or 30-second video or radio spot. So going back to wearables, we've always included wearables. I have Fiber On, a gorgeous top from Selma Caraca, who participated in our Boca Raton Fine Art Show 2 weeks ago. And then I have a beautiful pendant necklace from Kristen Holman, who is out of Fort Lauderdale. And these are 2 great wearable artists that are always welcome in our shows. And you can see that I support them tremendously. Not knowing you were going to ask that question, I actually supported them already. As far as Dale Chihuly goes, I'm glad he's a friend of yours, because we have a show in St. Petersburg, a second show at the beautiful Imagine Museum. For those who don't know about it, it's a gorgeous glass museum, and Dale's work is in it, along with top-notch, gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous glass artists from across the world. And the owner there was, I guess, consultant by Corey from Habitat Gallery in Royal Oak. And
one of the great.
Top-notch, amazing, out-of-this-world glass that you're not going to see really at many of the art shows. Susan Gott, who's a glass artist, actually had a beautiful fire demonstration Saturday night at the Imagine Museum, and was one of the featured artists there. I did attend the event. It was fun. and her work is presented a lot in that gallery. So I just wanted to mention St. Pete and the tie with that.
And Susan Gutt's a great example of someone who is in a lot of museum collections, very well known in the contemporary glass world. Me, as a gallery owner, a Palm Beach art dealer, I've sold Susan sculptures or glass sculptures on and off for 15 years. But here's someone who is existing in the gallery world, in the fine art and museum world, and she does your shows, and she's successful there, and she's out there with the people. I've even seen greats like Bennett Bean. He's like the Chihuly of ceramics, and he's in every major museum that has important ceramics. And a few years ago, he started doing some of the outdoor, not the outdoor, but he did the Smithsonian show, and he wanted to get back into the fairs because he likes that vitality and the human connection and the people walking up, seeing the work, talking about the work. And there's a magic to a fair like yours where you're in there and you're walking around and you get to see the artists and you see different kinds of things. There's a personal connection to owning it that you really don't get in a gallery or a museum.
100%. And we found that out big time during COVID. So during COVID, when the entire world was shut down, I was able to slam in 9 shows in 7 days to 7 weeks. So during that time, we found out more than ever how important the artist-patron relationship is, because visual, first of all, on the computer, the visual eye never, ever, ever, I mean, what's on the computer never, ever, ever is as powerful as the actual human eye. Okay. And, a lot of things, I see a lot. So you learn and you educate and you can see a lot. And as a matter of fact, you brought about helping artists. So a lot of times I'm able to help new artists because they're not applying properly. Their images might not be correct. Or their booth presentation. I help all the time, a lot of artists, because I know there aren't very many show directors in the country. I know Amy Amder helps a lot of times.
Yeah, Howard Allen does too. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's important to bring in the new artists for the shows. But yes, and especially what the artists need to do at the events is because these patrons end up becoming their friends. Part of their families. They invite them over for dinner. They sometimes sleep at their houses. That's how close the relationships are. And especially the artist's most important asset is having your sign-up sheet in your booth. Sign up to be on my email list or sign up to be on my Facebook page. And that's going to be, and then the people who buy from you especially are your number one clients, but anyone who walks in your booth, that's your most important asset to your business, because just because someone doesn't purchase from you at that event, it's called planting the seed, and that's a Murphy, planting the seed, Murph. Where, they don't buy. I mean, a lot of these people too, they have $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 paintings or higher end items. And, you can't expect these people to make a decision just like that, especially when the economy is down and we have war. War affects the art sales. And so a lot of times you want to have those people sign up to be on your list. If they don't by then, the next time you're in that area, make sure you communicate, you call them up, send them an email, say, hey, I'm back in the area. And they'll come back and they'll eventually, hopefully, purchase from you. Also, what we have to say is it's so important, if you can't close a deal at the show, the artists need to try to get into the home. And okay, huge, big time.
Yes, always volunteer to deliver the work.
Yes.
Get the work paid for, and always volunteer to deliver the work, because cultivating the relationship with your client is so important. Because when some of the shows that I go to year after year and talk to the artists, I see that they have returning clients. And the clients are talking about it, and they're talking to their friends. Yes, I went to the show. I've got this artist that I always like to buy work from, and it's this experience that they kind of share together. I know a lot of artists that have their clients every year, looking forward to seeing them at the show. They wait for that weekend, and they're ready to buy something, and they're bringing a friend or two every year. And it does really take years to cultivate a relationship. Sometimes, depending on the show or the market, the people who come to these shows, they want to see you show up for a year or two or three before they take you seriously and want to do something.
Well, going back to the home, they don't necessarily sometimes close the sale at the show. So people say, oh, I got to talk to my wife, or let me go home and think about it. Say, hey, show closes at 5. Are you in the area? I'd be happy to take over and show you the painting, see how it's going to look in your home. And when they go in the home, they got to take 2 paintings, one painting that they love, and then the other painting that can go with that first painting, because always the walls are much bigger than people think. So they want to try to sell 2 paintings. And then while you're at it, just bring a 3rd painting for the heck of it and say, I just thought for the heck of it. So you try to upsell them. And that information is very valuable to a lot of, especially the new artists, the more seasoned artists, many of which are in the hot work shows. That's where I've learned from. And Roy Schellenberg was the king of that. For people who remember Roy Schellenberg, he's the artist who actually got me started from, which show was it? The Orchard Lake Fine Art Show was our first show that we did in 2003. And he said, Patty, how can we get you to do more shows? You care, you promote the events properly. So he's how we ended up in Boca Raton. And at the time we did Charlotte, North Carolina, which we no longer do. But he's the one who really got me started too.
And getting started, I mean, that's really what it's all about. And at Juried Art Services, we're really focused right now on reaching out to younger artists and first-time applicants, because there's so many people out there who have graduated from RISD and Pilchuck and all the great art schools, or fashion and design schools, that don't even know the Juried exhibition world exists, or that they can get into these fairs. So that's a big part of it, is as the artists and our collectors kind of age out of existence, we have new, fresh, young blood. And you have what you were talking about, how you help the artists directly, you and a couple of the fair organizers take an interest. And here at Juried Art Services, we have real human beings who have spent a good part of their life in the art world that will walk and talk the artists through the application process. And this mentoring, helping people know about the shows, and then when they apply, it's got to be a daunting experience for any first-time applicant, right? Because the actual process of going on to Juried Art Services, clicking on the show, hitting apply now, and putting in your stuff, that's easy. But psyching yourself up to do it, that's 90% of the work. And then if you get into the show, wow, it's all new. And anything new is terrifying. So when somebody gets into your show for the first time, who's a younger artist, what are some of the things that you think are important to communicate to them so they can have a great experience and sell?
Exactly what I went over. Well, first of all, we want to make sure that a lot of the newbies don't, present themselves well. So we try to fix that. A lot of our shows, some do and some don't. We want to, we have light dome tents and pro panels that are available for rent through my wonderful buddy Joe at Tents for Events. And so that really helps. But I like to steer new artists, especially. So the thing is the email list and the Facebook list. You want to start those when they enter the booth, and then you want to try to get into the home. If you can't close a sale, get into the home and try to close the deal. Ray Schallenberg, he had all of his Mondays lined up with 6 appointments to close his sales that he couldn't close at the weekend of the show. And he was the king of that. And he really taught me about that. Julio Garcia does that all the time. Julio and Cecilia. Also, for new artists, I always recommend artists to go to Larry Berman Photography because he is excellent on his website. It's not, so it's Larry Berman Photography, and he has wonderful examples of how to submit your images for jurying and how to submit your booth presentation for jurying. So those are great examples because a picture is worth 1,000 words. And it just gives artists examples to compare against.
Yeah, Larry Berman, we've known for many years. He's really kind of an icon in our industry. Hi, Larry, if you're watching. When an artist gets into the show, knowing how to present yourself in the booth is really important. I sometimes see people, they're just sitting there staring at the phone, and they have the thought in their mind, well, if somebody wants to buy something, they can come talk to me. And then the opposite of that is somebody walks into the booth and you're just all over them and you're following them around and you're talking nonstop. That scares some people away. So for me, I've done a lot of art fairs around the world. And what I look for when somebody comes into the booth, I let them know I know they're there, that I'm available. I might say something friendly or witty to engage and maybe break the ice. And then I just want to see if they want me to get lost so they can look at the work, but be ready in case they want to buy it, or if they have genuine questions and want to engage. But knowing whether somebody wants to talk to you or not is important, and making it known that you're there and you're available, no pressure, super important. Welcoming people into the booth.
Just acknowledging is key, 100%.
How about, so I'm a curator. I've curated any number of museum shows and hundreds of gallery shows. And curatorial science, my mentor is Henry Geldzahler. Curatorial science is my mentor. About the experience of the viewer and how they understand and process it. And when you put together a show, whether it's your booth or your museum retrospective, it's like a story or a symphony. You have to understand what people will see first when they look at your booth, what's their overall impression. Then you have to kind of warm them up a little bit, give them something big, give them a rest. So when somebody looks at a booth, I think that you have to look at your entire presentation as a whole, and then where is the person going to start looking and where did their eyes go next? Human perceptual psychology tells us most likely when people look at a booth that they're going to look at the top left area first. Then they're going to scan to the right. So knowing what they set their eyes on and how you kind of whet their appetite for what's going to happen is important. What do you think about the curatorial thing, including the height and the lighting, and whether there should be big signs, extra signs, video explaining process or not?
Well, booth presentation is extremely important as part of jurying. Lighting is key to sell the work. As show director, I curate our shows now. I started with no art experience, and I had media experience and show promotion experience, and I was taught extremely well from gallery owner Ann Kuffler, Ariana Gallery in Royal Oak, Michigan, and then Les Lesnick, one of the top photographers who won all the awards at all the top art shows in the country. So they really helped me with curating our events. For me, when I, after jurying and judging, I also want to mention that we have we always have retired artists as part of our team. And for the past maybe 8 years, I think, we've had Terry Ellensweg. Many artists know of Terry and Lester. Lester passed last year. And Terry's part of my shows, and she helps. She helps too. Sometimes I don't know, Terry, should we put this person in? And so, you know, I have people who oversee me. As far as signs go, we discourage against vinyl banners, and then I'm the most hypocrite because then I have the vinyl banners for the sponsors, and I'm sorry, but we need the sponsors, and I have banners that we hang for the sponsors who are important to help pay the bills. But we really discourage against the vinyl banners, and it's not just me, it was Les Slesnick behind this, Ann Kuffler. We go back years. Should we allow these signs? If they're in the front of the booth, it just, in our opinion, it lowers the quality of the show.
So what about if you have a placard that shows you in the studio and explains your technique, or a small monitor showing you in the studio and what it takes to make it? Because for some artists, like for instance, a batik artist, you know, we talked about every time I go to any show, I always buy something. And this is a handmade batik painting, and I liked it so much I commissioned the artist to make me a jacket lining.
That's nice.
So having something in the booth that shows the people who walk in where you come from, what your techniques are, what's special about the work, I think that does go a long way, because sometimes people don't appreciate how much effort goes into creating one of these things.
100%, yes, 100%. The videos are excellent. We provide name signs that show the information, so it is consistent. And then we do encourage biographies to be hung. And even many artists have professional signs, like a glass artist has it made out of glass, or a wood artist has their sign made out of wood. Okay, we make exceptions for that because those don't lower the quality. It just goes show to their more creativity. So booth presentation, in our opinion, is key. We don't like to have protruding in the front. We like to allow room for us. We do 11-foot booths, and anywhere I can, I have 1 or 2 feet in between, because out of respect for people who are concerned still about COVID, it's not many, maybe 5–10%, but they'd like to see the shows more social distanced still, and the artists love it, because then sometimes they get an extra wall on the side. So we do little things like that just to help with, you know, for me, when I also curate the show, I have all colors. So mine, I call it like a puzzle, and I'll pull out Boca that I just had. We'll see on my notes with all my colors. Oh. So we had, I don't know if you can see this. Oh, you can't see the colors. There's our map. Every color represents a medium. So I don't ever have 2 jewelers next to each other. We got sculptures spread apart.
So what advice do you give the artists for pricing their work? Because I know, being a Palm Beach art dealer, very often an artist wants to raise their prices because they're in an affluent area. Maybe they think the same about Naples. But the thing is, the people in Palm Beach or Naples or Beverly Hills know when you're raising the prices just because you're there. Of course, as an artist, you want to price your work as high as you can that will support a volume of sales. What's some advice that you could give a younger artist about how to price their work and how much to negotiate when somebody comes into the booth?
Oh, the artist is going to have to figure out how much time and how much money they have into supplies. And I always, for pricing their work, I always tell them to refer them to other artists who are in their categories and ask them about that. Because I don't sell at the shows. I'm the show director, but I don't really sell. Okay. So also for many shows, I say have a 20% negotiation in your head, because a lot of people okay, our buyers are very savvy business people, a lot of them, okay? And just like me, when I go for a tent company, a porta-john company, a dumpster company, I have to get security, overnight security. I get all different quotes from different companies, okay? And and then I go, media? You know what I do with the media when they give me a quote? I cut them in half and I tell them, give me more spots and I'll prepay you and I'll do camera ready. Okay, so don't be offended if the patron asks for a discount. That is a buying signal, and that means they're very savvy business people too, because of course they're going to say, "Are you negotiable?" Every business person says, "Are you negotiable on the price?" Okay, and have something in the back of the head. But I always say, don't come out with the first figure. Say, well, what were you thinking? Because then you don't want to lowball yourself. Okay? Because then they might start out higher. But you want to be fair too. And the whole thing is to be fair and to be honest, because it's your business. But you want to be prepared with the buying signal and try to close that deal.
Yeah.
Because, okay, try to close that deal.
You know, what I do at the end of the day, I'm a salesman. In the art world, we call ourselves gallerists and curators and dealers. But whether I'm trying to sell a painting for, a $5 million painting or a $500 painting, human psychology is about the same. But industry-wide in the art world, it's a 20% discount is not unusual. It's almost the standard, really. But you don't want to go right there. If somebody asks what is your best price on a $1,000 item, then usually I think the first volley is you should offer 10%. And if somebody says, well, what's your best price? Then say, well, make me an offer. We know why we're here.
Say the amount, have patron make you the offer first, because you never know. And sometimes it can be pretty insulting. Just be very kind and professional and, don't let them see your face that you're mad about their offer. But, take a deep breath and counter offer them. And hey, you never know.
Always be gracious. If your work is $1,000 and somebody says, would you take $400? Whatever they say something like that. My favorite response is that a question or an offer? Because if they say it's a question at any price, then you know that you're not going anywhere and somebody's just, maybe having some fun, kicking the tires and then going on for the next. You want to identify if somebody is asking because they really like the work and they want to own it. And then if they really have to get a serious deal in order to be able to get it, it's very important. Sometimes people just need to know that they're not going to pay retail. I've seen deals where somebody's offered a nominal discount, $25 off on $1,000 item, and they're very happy because they got a nod. So you don't want to dive deep and you don't want to be disrespectful. If somebody offers you money, it's always something you should appreciate.
Correct. Yes.
I think the other thing, when people come into your booth, it's very important to understand whether they're there because they want to look at the art or whether they are there to buy art or are capable or interested in buying art. Because when somebody comes into your booth and they want to show you the picture that their nephew did when he was 5 of something that is in the same color range, you have to be able to say to people nicely, I'm sorry, I can't, I'm working, it cost me about $100 an hour to stand here. So I really have to pay attention, but thank you. You have to be very cognizant of the value of your time because people will come in there and want to tell you their stories in it's a social setting, but when you're in your booth, you're working. And whether you're working for yourself or for your boss, you have to stay focused.
So selling the work is extremely important. I'm glad we're speaking about this because I think many artists are stuck with this. So a lot of artists can't sell. They don't know how. So number one is just always be yourself. But there are many husband and wife teams or uh, combos where there's the one person that can sell, and then there's the artist in the booth to answer any questions about creating the work. And never be overzealous and pushy towards the customer, but you have to be knowledgeable and you have to like ask and try to make a deal. Don't ignore them. The people usually who come to our shows are there for the show too. So they're there specifically for the show. So you have to determine, are you doing a downtown show where they're there already for the restaurants and whatever else is going on, their yoga class? Or are you there because the show is drawing the audience specifically for the event? Our shows get lesser attendance, but we have people there specifically for the event at our shows in Boca, Naples, Sarasota, St. Pete. Those are West Bloomfield. Those are all destination locations. So people want to pay attention to every single person who goes to those events because there's no restaurants in the area. There's nothing out. They're there for the event. So, it's a different.
So you do shows in Michigan and up and down Florida, and even both economically and culturally, there's big differences across Florida in different areas, different age groups that are coming to the show, different levels of affluence or taste. So, somebody applying to, tell me how you kind of help to guide your artists for different shows in different areas, because maybe the same artist might want to bring one body of work towards one show and a different body towards the other show. How do you work with that?
100%. So some artists are lucky where they can sell on both coasts of Florida, East and West Coast, but the coasts are different. And typically we find out that people from New York, Massachusetts, that side of the area are the Boca Raton people, the Wellington people, and then people from the Midwest, like Michigan, Indiana, Ohio, are the West Coast of Florida. So pretty much it is, you're right, there's a difference in selling.
And I suppose even different times of year, you kind of want to gear towards something, understanding if people might be coming who are in the gift buying versus the art collecting crowd.
Well, we started our Boca show right before the holidays, second weekend of December, about 5 years ago. And we're finding that the high-end art still sells there. So that's good. And surprisingly, like the weekend after the holidays, New Year's Eve weekend is always a good weekend. A lot of things affect the shows. A stock market drop will affect an event if the stock goes down. War affects the event. COVID, those things like that. Mm-hmm. Terrorism, those are things we have to watch out for. We just had the event with New Orleans. So all of our events are increased security now, which I've been really handling closely for 15 years. I work with the police a lot. And we've increased our security at the events. And but those are a lot of, that's a good thing with me growing up in Detroit. I learned how to watch my back everywhere I went. Comes into play with these shows.
Patty, we've gone on for quite a while. And wow. Can we do this again on another day? Because we're covering so much interesting things for the artist and how to make it and what it's really like. And Juried Art Services, we don't take on everybody that wants us to take them on. We work only with real art-centered organizations. And what I love is people like you or Heidi Ostrang from the Smithsonian, Nancy O'Mara from Philadelphia Museum, people who are, their life is so intertwined with the people who do their shows. And there's a mentorship and a sense of community and a sense of commitment and longevity. And, it's such a rich tapestry that we're working with here, because for a person to make it as an artist is a profound and difficult and wonderful and special thing. And there's special people who don't read or take directions, and they need help and love and mentorship. And I just love how involved you are with the show, for the artists, for the people that come there, and that they have a great day and a great experience. And it's been a pleasure. It's great to talk to like a real pro who's been there, done it, loves it, and best days are ahead of us.
Thank you. We didn't even talk about the youth art competition.
Tell us about the youth art competition.
Briefly. So our 501c3 nonprofit is Institute for the Arts and Education. Our focus is visual arts, which means we keep the buy-sell import out of our juried shows, community enrichment, cultural diversity, and fostering art education among youth. So as part of our commitment to bring art education into all the shows that we do, we integrate a youth art competition. It's either for grades K through 8 or grades 6 through 12, depending on the show. And it's a way we expose students to the rules and entrepreneurship opportunity of doing art shows for a living. So what the kids do, I made up the program. I think we started it in 2005, and to date, we've exposed over 5,000 kids to the entrepreneurship and rules of doing art shows for a living. And I have, like in Boca Raton, we had great schools, North Broward Prep. We have Anna Heinz is with, I can't remember the school, but we have great schools that participate. We ended up with like 60, 70 kids. And then they bring their artwork at 3:00 on Friday, so that we have booths. So it's usually a 10 by 20 to a 10 by 50 booth in the show. And all the kids' work is publicly displayed. So they're really excited that the work is publicly displayed at the show. So they come back at Sunday at 3:00 with their families and the teachers. And I usually pick one artist in the show to select the winners. And there's 250 in kids art awards, and the ribbons are 2 feet long. And it's a presentation that lasts about 15 minutes on Sunday. And they just love it. And we always tell them if they don't win, don't give up, because even the best artists never win a prize at all the shows that they do, that they're at the shows to sell their work and not to win a prize. And also, just because this person selected these winners doesn't mean that they wouldn't have been selected by another winner, because all work is subjective. So that's the bottom line of it. Yeah.
I love that. And do you do that at every one of your shows?
Yes, except for the one in Boca right before the holidays, just because everyone's too busy with the holidays. We can't get the schools involved. But yes, the upcoming show, St. Pete, is March 8 and 9. And then we have Sarasota, March 29th and 30th. And then again, Naples, April 12th and 13th. All of those will have. So we did the younger kids in the fall shows and then the January shows. And so the older kids, grades 6 through 8 or ages 9 to 19, will be at the spring shows.
Outstanding. Well, thank you very much, Patty. This was just delightful. I can't wait to talk to you again and go over more things.
I'd love to. Thanks a lot, Paul. And thanks for Juried Art Services being a great partner with HotWorks. We appreciate it. See art, love art, buy art.
Thank you.
Thanks.